Hey, peace world. Thanks for pressing play on another Pay Me No Mind sports and entertainment video. Another morning wood. Check me out on bitedownboxing.com as well as roundbyroundboxing.com as well as womenofboxing.com. My name is Wood. Find me online as RL Woodson. Today's morning wood. I missed it that Anthony Joshua was on, I guess, First Take this week. Maybe in the last day or so. I missed it. I only saw like a minute and 40-something second clip. I'll come back to boxing in a minute. Tonight, we get started with the NBA Finals. And I'm pretty excited about this. Couple of notes. I'm taking the Warriors. But I expect to see some tough team defense from the Raptors. And it'll be very interesting to follow, Van Vliet, Lowry, Siakam, to see if those guys understand what's the opportunity that's before them. It's a lot of Hall of Fame guys who don't have, who won MVPs, regular season MVPs, All-Star game appearances, are all-time 75-year, 50-year players, etc., who don't have championships. And, with 4 wins, that group of guys that I just mentioned, you may not go on and have all of the accolades of a Charles Barkley, and you may not be atop the scoring list like a Karl Malone, number 2 or whatever he is. But right now in 4 games, you could check the box of a finals winner. So it'll be interesting to see which one of those guys can rise to the occasion, because you're not guaranteed to get back, especially with it lingering out there that or looming, free agency looming, and the possibility that Kawhi could be moving on. But I just saw where I think I love the Warriors, man, because I like how it was built, excluding the addition of Kevin Durant. I like how the team was built through the draft. I like how they've been able to incorporate the draft picks that they've made since the big nucleus came together, and they bring these guys in and they get timely contributions from all of these different pieces. But the one thing that I saw was that Steph Curry actually, there's a knock on him that he doesn't show up in the finals. But I just saw where like his career average in the finals is higher than Dwayne Wade. I want to say Kobe Bryant, who had to split the ball with Shaq. But Kobe Bryant, Dwayne Wade, Larry Bird, and it may have been one other person on there. And it's just like, I think that's the magic of this team and why I rock with the team, because we keep want to look at these guys individually and say what they aren't, complain or tear down Steph Curry because he doesn't have a finals MVP, tearing down because he's playing alongside Kevin Durant. I think the magic is that they're the perfect teammates. That's the secret sauce. That's what makes it all work, is they're the perfect teammates. Whether or not one of them individually needs to get 22 points in a quarter or score 30, 3 points in a half, hit 77 free throws consecutively in the fourth quarter, defend, whatever it is. The one impressive thing with me for Steph was like, I want to say it was last year, his rebound average was like 8. So this small guy who's relied upon to be the shooter is out here getting 8 boards plus like 6 or 7 assists or something. So like I said, we keep wanting to look at Klay individually, and we want Klay to be banging on the table, to be considered whatever, not making an all NBA team this year, but we want him to do this. So some people are suggesting that he should leave and go somewhere where he can be the man. Draymond is this and this, blah, blah, blah. Like they're the perfect teammates. That's what makes them individually they're dope, but they play well together and they put aside ego. That's what's phenomenal about them to me. A point on Draymond Green. I said this maybe a year and a half ago when Pay Me No Mind was just on the Talk Loud radio network. One thing that I thought was what I was growing sick of with him and growing tired of seeing in him was the constant arguing with referees. 30 seconds into the game, a weird play happens and he collides with somebody and they call a foul on him. 30 seconds after the tip-off, and he's yelling and fussing at a referee already. And it's like, man, you have the greatest job in the world. You know, you have one of the greatest, literally, you have one of the greatest jobs in the world. How could you go about doing your job in that manner where just you have 5 fouls left for the rest of the 47 minutes and 30 seconds, and because you got this freak accident, you know, this freak collision resulted in a personal foul getting called on you, and now you go over here and mess around with the ref and really kind of influence the ref how he may call the remainder of the game just because you wanted to argue about nothing. And he said recently, I thought it was one of the best things that I've seen a superstar say, was he realized that he was too focused on arguing with the referees and it was affecting the rest of his game. And yeah, like if you're in the NBA, if you're in the NFL, baseball, like you have one of the greatest jobs in the world. You should be happy to go to work. And you're on a winning team. You're on a 73, a team that won 73 games. So I just never understood the mindset or the mind state of getting out there and just losing it repeatedly over small stuff. But it's probably pretty easy to take it all for granted, you know. But anyway, I would probably take the Warriors, man, in around 5. But expect something from phenomenal from Kawhi Leonard. The sad thing is that all this stuff could happen, and then within a month, you know, the dude could be departing Toronto. But we'll see. We'll see. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Looking at this weekend's big fight, man. Anthony Joshua and Andy Ruiz switching over to boxing. I don't really know if there's anything more to say on this, man. I think watching or listening to the coverage of this event from creators who happen to be people of color, POC or AA. Listening to that coverage versus listening to non-people of color coverage. It's a stark contrast, man. And it says a lot. It speaks volumes. I'm just I think it's interesting that the guy is coming over here. He's accepted the challenge. You know, he very easily could have stayed over in speaking of Anthony Joshua, he very easily could have stayed over in Europe or the UK and fought, you know, somebody and, you know, did something in the stadium and had pretty good turnout and went on about his business. But in looking ahead and then trying to check off some boxes, trying to advance his career, you know, looking to take the next big leap. You know, he came over to this country facing everything, you know, to face everything that encompasses. And I just hope that he goes out there, man, and performs and does his thing and does what he needs to do. And if that would, you know, result in somehow losing to Andy Ruiz, who was very, you know, seems very confident, seems like he has a solid game plan based on what I've been hearing. You know, may the best man win. But it's just odd, man, that it's certain factions that continue to find ways to disparage the dude for how he had his sweatsuit on. Whether or not his jacket was zipped up, was his t-shirt too tight. They run the gamut, and it's asinine and it's childish, and just corny to me. But like I said, man, I hope the guy stays focused. I would hope that he can put on a good performance, man, and line up some of these other big fights, whether it be with Usyk, whether it be with Pulev, whether it be with Michael Hunter. Joyce, I guess, is a guy who's too far out, which I saw that fight. I think it was finalized between Brian Jennings and Joe Joyce. But anyway, you got to move on, man. I think it's another. The funny thing, like I said, I'll say again, is the guy can't do anything right, but then conversely, there's not a question. There's not a single question of Deontay Wilder and Ortiz 2 and Luis Ortiz 2 being made. There's not a single question about that move and that fight. And then you start realizing how big of a game some of this stuff is and how foolish some of this stuff is. So I don't know, man. Like I said, it's kind of boring and whatever, man. I'm just trying to check it out. Again, I've been pretty pleased with what I'm seeing on DAZN. I think the card this weekend, I'm looking forward to it. Obviously, it has a UK flavoring to it. Again, it's kind of how U.S. fans could just stare down their nose at all of these guys coming over from the UK trying to do their thing. I mean, if you want to sit here and say that you can't be a superstar without proving yourself here in the States, and then if all of these guys are trying to come to the States and start staking their claim and showing their wares, such as a Callum Smith, again, in contrast, at 168, we have Caleb Plant getting ready to fight Mike Lee. Salute to Caleb, but when the hell did Mike Lee become? Anyway, like I said, man, I want to see what Callum Smith is. I mean, this is a guy that could potentially be a future opponent for Canelo Alvarez. And maybe it's other business at 168 for him outside of Canelo. So to check him out, like I said, Josh Kelly is he's a bit of a showman. Is he for real or is he fake? I can find that out this weekend. And if he's fake, I can, if we find out if he gets exposed, then we move on. Katie Taylor, like I said, I see Claressa Shields being more interesting. Or better, but there's a large contingent out there that's rocking with Katie Taylor. Again, Amanda Serrano and her could have a showdown. I want to see what happens with this women's undisputed fight with Delphine Persoon. I'm here for it. The Buatsi guy, I'll be just observing. So I don't know, man. Like I said, I guess the good thing, man, is that everybody has access to what they want to have access to, and you're getting to see. You have a chance to see what you want to see, and that's all that's important from a a consumer's perspective, from a fan's perspective, is we all have access to what we want to watch and what we want to support. That's really, at the end of the day, that's all that matters. Hey, man, you don't have to be great to start. Don't let nobody tell you that. But you have to start to be great. Let Wood tell you that. I'm out.